of look like. But he's actually done all right and looks pretty good as well. So thank you for listening. So this speech is mostly about Mike. 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 Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Mike. Mike.
Paul Calf.
So, as the three of us, we're only going to do a bit each, so we kind of separated into themes, and I'm going to start with kind of the earlier days for Mike. So, it's a huge... What we do? Sabotage! Thanks very much, Chris. It's a huge honour to be asked to be best man for one of your oldest friends. So, as you can imagine, I was quite taken aback when I found out he'd pretty much asked all of his other mates as well. So I wasn't sure what to say at first, so I had to think about it. But then I looked at Mike, who was on both knees, weeping, and I just had to say yes. So, this seems like quite a main tactic for Mike when he wants something. Isn't that right, Becky? Yeah. So, I first met Mike probably about 20 years ago at Handsworth Grammar School for boys. So, I'm not saying that going to a boys' school didn't make it a little bit more difficult for us to socialise with members of the opposite sex, but Mike took this to a whole new level. I don't think Mike actually spoke to a girl outside of his own family till he was probably 17, I think. And I think even that was to order a drink at the bar, nervously. Which is something he still doesn't like doing, probably. He was one of the first people I met at school, and it wasn't long before I knew we'd be good mates. Mostly because I realised quite quickly that we had a very similar sense of humour. He revealed quite early on in our new friendship what a good impression of a fish he did. So you might be able to get him to do that. Now, that coupled with an extraordinary but very similar impression of a lizard as well, probably is it's one of the reasons he was a bit of a late starter on the girlfriend. So. I can only assume that's the first Becky seen of those, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. So when we were younger, Mike had a load of hobbies. He loved playing computer games. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he really loved playing computer games. At least that was what he told his parents he was doing. After years hidden away in his room playing, Mike decided he needed a job. Obviously, so he could buy some more computer games. And as a model student, which he was at school, with nearly always excellent grades, surely he was going to aim high. So he landed himself a job in the squash club, working behind the bar. For the bonus, the excellent wage of £2.75 an hour, and we worked out that after getting a taxi to and from work for a 4-hour shift, taxi there and back, and a sandwich while he was at work, he was actually operating at an impressive £3 loss per shift. So he must have really liked working there. I mean, I'm not quite sure why, because he never played squash once. But he got a pay rise after his education, so they obviously were impressed. So he was earning £3 an hour after not long. So anyway, I'm going to hand you over to Chris now. But before I do that, I just wanted to say genuinely how chuffed I am for Mike. That he's found such a perfect match in Becky, and I'm absolutely certain that it's going to be a long and happy marriage. That's one down, you just got two to go. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Owen. I'd like to thank you all, particularly my warm-up act here. For all of you who don't know, I've known Woodsy for 25 years, been to 2 schools with him, frankly a lot longer than these two here, and I was obviously quite bitter to be sharing the stage with them today. But that's not a problem at all. My role today is to sort of lead on from what Owen was talking about in his first foray into the world of work and to a slightly more lucrative period. Now, of course, we all know that it's very difficult to distinguish between Woodsy's professional and personal life. Of course, ultimately that is the reason why we're all here today, and it's we have to thank high quality regional journalism for bringing us all here to have this wonderful day. Must warn you actually, at this point this speech is much like Mikey's romantic life before he met Becky, and in terms of not very memorable and heavily reliant on the internet. Someone go. So Mike has been a journalist with the Express and Star since we left school in about 2000. Been there ever since. Remarkably, it is still the biggest selling regional paper in the country, I believe, despite his best efforts. It's an impressive pedigree. It was, I believe, founded in 1889. Sounds about right. And also, a bit of trivia here, thanks to Wikipedia. I believe it was the marriage of 2 different papers. One, the Express, a liberal paper, and the Star, a conservative paper, so opposites attract in that sense as well. As I said, you can't really distinguish between the professional and the personal life. And if there's really 3 words to describe how that kind of symbiotic relationship exists between their work, it's probably this. I mean, it basically says it all. You know. But for Mike, marriage is just basically a good way of not being sacked. Very good at, you know, 12 years he's been there, emerged, climbed the greasy pole, still with her as a boss. Anyway, I remember actually the first time we met Becky, my girlfriend and I, reminded me of this, and it was, I think, a very grotty Birmingham University student night, and I remember thinking, yep, punching above his weight here, I'd say. But it was obvious very quickly that he was smitten. Becky, I think, he had to work on a little bit, you know, but eventually he wore her down, you know. But I think it was his kindness, sensitivity, uncanny ability to understand her concerns, even her preferences, her favourite chocolates, for example. What Becky wasn't to know, of course, that Mikey had been hacking into her voicemail for the 6 months previous, rummaging through her bins, and therefore it was quite easy to guess, of course. Now, so during 12 years of journalism, they've had some seminal events, terrorist attacks, political, you know, insurrection, economic crises, all sorts, and really had to just see this week alone for the hard-hitting journalism of which the Express and Star is proud. And you'll see today, horse visit cash points. Cutting-edge stuff, boys. Hard-hitting. Quite cute, though, I think. Fair enough. That's all. Anyway, there's no denying actually that journalism, as a profession, is under a bit of scrutiny at the moment. It's a bit of high degree of you know, post-Leveson and everything, and it's really very necessary to be kind of whiter than white. And although the Express and Star not at all implicated in any of the kind of police bribery or phone hacking, it's very nice that Mike maintains a close, you know, a professional distance from the police. And of course, you know, let's digest, of course, this is part of a 3-day, was it training camp, was it, for riot training camp? Of course, Mike took the term embedded journalism to quite some way. Which is, you know, pretty normal, of course, yeah. And we're, of course, we've been in contact with the boys, actually, and they were kind enough to give you a thumbs up to cheer you on for your marriage. Just want to say no allegations are approved at this point. Anyway, it's time to say a few kind words. I suppose it's sort of incumbent upon me, bitterly. He's been a loyal friend for over, for over 2 decades. We've shared some fantastic memories. I'm sure he'll be a fantastic husband to Becky, who it's very clear he adores, and it was a great honour for me to act as one of your best men. And if it ever comes to me, you'll definitely make the top 3, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm trying to think of ways, actually, that we could sort of, some way, think of how Mike's job would prepare him for a life of marriage, and some of the traits that Woodsy might bring to that marriage based on his journalist approval. And we got veracity, a commitment to the truth, which I think we all, need in journalism and in our married life. Integrity, of course, very important. Also, responsibility. We've just seen good evidence of his good humour here. Imagination, I think, which is pretty impressive here, and of course, nerve, which is we always want. There's a really impressive acronym that I probably don't need to spell out at this point. Sorry. Anyway, all it does is remains for me to say, I'm so sorry. You're a true friend, and I wish you all the happiness in the world, and I will now hand over to a slightly more responsible person. Thank you.
Great. Hi everyone. So I'm the final best man. That's a promise. There isn't any more hiding in the wings unless Mike's upgraded an usher whilst we're waiting. Just a couple of notes to start with. Actually, we've got some cards at the front here. So before you all leave, could you please leave some wishes, some thoughts about today, and please do note those down before you go. Also, we've got some messages from some of your friends that couldn't be here today. So Patsy, Matt and Isabel from Australia are really sorry that they can't make it, and they hope that you have a lovely day. And Ollie, Mike, Ollie sends his love, and a couple of other messages which I'll tell you later. So yeah, I mean, it really is a kind of huge honour to be Mike's best man. I suppose more accurately, a third of an honour. As Chris pointed out, we kind of met a bit later in life. Mike and I became friends actually on a ski trip when we were about 17 or 18. We were kind of thrown together because of our poor ability at skiing. You remember, Mike? So we were both in the bottom set. And I remember actually the moment when I thought that Mike and I might be friends. That moment was watching him sniff pepper for money. because unfortunately on that occasion Roger and Diana had been slightly negligent parents and sent him on a holiday without any cash. I wasn't in much of a better boat as I hadn't got the approval to drink alcohol. So if you remember, Mike, my dad, I was frantically trying to get a fax confirmation that I was allowed to drink alcohol, which finally I got, which was good. I mean, the rest of the night got a bit hazy after that, but I do remember one of our teachers being slightly surprised at the fact that Mike had. Mike's kind of inexperienced with girls up to that point. I think the exact expression was, "Woodsy, are you a virgin?" And he was. In many ways, our relationship hasn't really changed much over the years. Mike and I and some of the friends went skiing last year, and we were both still the worst by far. Have been some changes, sorry. Instead of sniffing pepper for money, Mike now hacks voicemails. Only joking, he draws a line at police bribery. No, but I'm only joking. As Chris said, work is a major part of Mike and Becky's life, and it really is important to them. However, that does mean Mike expending all that energy at work does mean that he can be slightly more relaxed when he gets home. Oh, no, wrong one. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, sorry, slight administrative error by Chris here. This is sabotage. There we go. As you can see. So one of my favourite pastimes is seeing what kind of objects I can put on Mike whilst he's asleep. You can see shoes and cushions in this one. A candle on the penis. Oranges. Bottle tops. Bottle tops again. Oh, so it did get through customs. Oranges again, and final flower and a Red Bull. So I'll leave that one up there. I mean, a bit about why we're actually here today, and we're here today because Mike and Becky have got married. I do remember when you both started going out, and honestly, it was such a relief, to be honest. It genuinely was such a relief to meet Becky and to really like her and to think she was, you know, so fun and outgoing and just such a kind person and such a nice person. And you know, it does make our life as his friends a lot easier. Becky was even able to sort out Mike's kind of chronic sleep addiction, as this video will show.
Oh no.
I'll carry on talking. So I mean, as Chris as Chris mentioned. That's enough of that. I'll bring it back later. As Chris mentioned, she's his boss at work, but their relationship outside of work is better described by a different word, and as Becky would put it, it's called compromise, Mike. I remember chatting with Matt, Mike, sorry. Really great friends. I remember chatting with Mike a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind of somewhat surprised and also a bit disturbed to find out that sometimes the longest that they spend apart is when one of them goes to the toilet. But actually, I think the fact that they can get on and spend so much time together is actually a testament to how well suited they are together. Like all good partnerships, I think they're better together. Anyway, I'd like to wrap up by toasting the bride and groom. It's a Red Bull, by the way. Bride and groom.
Thank you, Halifax.
Got to put this down, my arm is killing me.